What's going on, everybody? How you doing out there? We're back. How you guys doing out there? Man, it has been a weekend, and I mean a serious weekend. Man, there's so much that we gotta talk about, but let's get this stuff out of the way first. Thank you guys for showing up. We're back. We're bad. I am black and I am mad, as in out of my mind. So with that, I'm gonna say hello. Ooh, that is terrible. Wow, this has been. Ooh, there we go. All right, there we go. Hi, how you guys doing out there? I'm Solar Grade, the Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower in beautiful Southern California, and I want to thank you guys for showing up on the dark side of the room. That's right. When all of those things start coming and your pop culture references start playing different tunes, we will see you on the dark side of the room. I want to welcome everybody back that's been watching the show. How you guys doing? We are literally just getting back from San Diego Comic-Con. All right. We're not just getting back. We got back yesterday. On Monday, man, it has been a thing. I want to say, what is going on? How you guys doing out there? Two, of course, because I always got to do this to my people. What's going on, you guys out there in MP City? Hey, we've got Sarah Jane out there. Very cool. I think I have some pictures of what her cosplay was this weekend, and that was amazing, by the way. Like I said, we're a little bit discombobulated right now, so let's just get the begging part out of the way. Again, thank you guys for showing up. If you're new and you want to get a hold of us, then guess what? We do the reading of the email thing here and all that jazz. So, if you guys want to do all that jazz, I would say pull up your keyboards or an additional smart device that's so small, because God knows I use 2 or 3 of them. Open up your email and go to backinthedeck@gmail.com. It's backinthedeck@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on social media. That is at backinthedeck. I found out it was called the @ symbol, so isn't that fun and creative? Ooh, I was hoping for a cool name like ampersand. But you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff at backinthedeck. Join up with a Facebook group called Deckers on the Book if you happen to find yourself on that wretched hive of scum and villainy called the Facebook. And of course, we got other stuff that we're going to be showing you guys. So I'm trying to get this opening sequence down a little better. If you guys are like me and you're stuck in traffic all day, all the time, and you really love listening to the sexiness of my nasally, high-pitched voice that shouldn't belong to a black man my size, then you guys should head over to soundcloud.com/BID_P, where you can hear the audio of our 5 to 7 years of backlogs of all of our podcasts. That's right, all of these years. Follow us there, it helps us out a lot. And if you guys really like what you're doing, or if you don't like using up bandwidth, I don't know how that goes and all that stuff, you can download those MP3s to own for free forever as our gift to you for checking us out. And of course, follow us over on Twitch, because we're there all the time. Just head over to twitch.com/BID_P for our live cast videos and all that as it's coming. Yesterday we had to take a day off of Buster Recap because I'm fighting off the con crud. Actually, I tried fighting off the con crud and it didn't work all that well. And of course, finally, if you want to help us out in the most personal and effective manner, head over to patreon.com/BID_P. That is patreon.com/BID_P. And check out, become a patron. And for as little as $1 a month, you have access to the video stuff of all of our archives. We give so many different incentives. As a matter of fact, we'll be talking about one of the Patreon incentives that we picked up this week. And you guys can totally join the coolness of people like Shannon Boom Boom Lay and, of course, Paul Mansfield, our top patrons. And finally, we do have a GoFundMe. We're trying to get to a good amount of money so that we can open up some of our creativity clubs, or more of our creativity clubs, in places like Compton, Linwood, Oakland, south side of Chicago. We're talking Chirac, and various places all over the country. Now, with all that being said, I'm also going to be like, yeah, hey, what else is going on there? And finally, if you guys are really interested to see the kind of stuff that you would get by helping support us, this dice roller, a custom back in the deck, a back in the deck dice roller. This one is the Angel of Death, and that is going to be one of our major incentives. And we've got to say hello to Nicholas Hurst tuning in from South Africa. Oh my God, does that make us worldwide? I don't know, but he got one of our last incentives, which was the Cthulhu dice roller. I can't pronounce it right because I don't have 9 tongues and my mouth is not 8 feet long. So with that, let's get this show started. I really don't like doing that commercial section because there's so much I got to tell you guys about. So, oh man, San Diego Comic-Con. We're talking now, before I really get started with that, for those of you guys that are new to the show, here on the dark side of the room, we're trying to raise awareness of what it's like to be what I like to call a disenfranchised gamer. And what does that mean? Or a disenfranchised geek. All right. That means a person of color, women, LGBTQAI plus, the disabled, and of course, the fiscally disenfranchised, because a lot of nerd culture gets expensive. And we're here to let you guys know how you can pull it off on your budget and the safe places to go where you can do your thing without feeling judged and all that jazz. So when people tell you that you can't like what you like and all that stuff, you just say, hey, put it back in the deck. Just because I'm female, that doesn't mean I can't read. You know, I'm black. I happen to really enjoy comic books, role-playing games, and various games of pretend. And I'm sorry, but when people look at cosplayers and they're like, what? I didn't know that Latinx liked Captain America. It's like, dude, put it back in the deck. Pop culture is pop culture. So that's what we're here for. And I'm going through that spiel because I've been going through that whole spiel hard. And by hard, I mean San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone. And I will tell you guys, this year was amazing. It was so amazing. There was so many things on the floor, and we're not going to get into all that stuff because you can go to the YouTube at any time and look up the fact that Mahershala Ali is Blade and the Eternals movie has been talked about. I mean, Hall H, let's face it, if it happens in Hall H, it's on YouTube 20 seconds later. So I don't need to talk to you guys about that. What I do when I go down to Comic-Con is I network, and I do what I can to get our message out there to the people that can help us boost the signal. And this year we got a lot of good responses from people from Milestone Comics, animators, some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle people. Like, I could drop names all day, but out of respect for their privacy and what they do in their celebrity public life, we got a lot of stuff going. And, of course, I only have a few pictures to show because I was so busy in meetings and meals and all that stuff, I didn't get much time to walk the floor. That's how busy we were. And here's the good news, guys. Seriously. The real good news is that people love our message. People actually, we're finally like, when I was a kid, I had a dream, like this fantasy, where we lived in a future where people were more open to hearing about experiences outside their purview. And this year at San Diego Comic Con, um, that came to fruition. But first, pictures. Like I said, I didn't take pictures of many cosplayers. I didn't take many pictures of many booths, and those I did take, I'm still downloading and uploading because so many different devices and the data dumps, it's crazy. But I did run into another wizard, and we could have a little bit of a talk. I think his name was Tommy, Tom, Tim, something, but he was an enchanter, and this guy was pretty awesome. We talked, we sang songs about spam. I had to get a picture with Baron Harkonnen from Dune. That was very interesting. There was a cosplayer for Baron Harkonnen, the vile, ugly, bloated, pox-ridden, disease-filled, pustule-covered politician that was from the Dune novels. So I had my picture taken with this guy. And wait, sorry. That's a different villain. So I think that was Baron Satsuma, either Satsuma or Baron Navel. I don't know, some sort of orange, but that was fun. And I'm sitting up there with a fantastic animator, martial artist, motion capture person, by the name of Miss Anna Maltese. You guys might know her from the chat. So her and I met up in San Diego and we saw this thing and it was fun. What else did we got going? Now, I was at a pretty bad hotel, and when I called in for somebody to clean up, this woman came around and she was very much like, no. I'm like, could you bring me a new garbage bag? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, can you at least tell me where I can find a concierge? And she was like, no. And I'm like, okay, fine, and then I'm like, okay, well, would you mind if I took your picture? And she's like, no. So I took a picture. And finally I ran into an old friend of mine back from when I was trying to learn computer programming. This guy, really cool, has this great trick of wearing glasses without putting them on his nose. So that was some stuff. So the slideshow is over, and we can deal with that. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about was, as you guys know, if you take a look at the playlist and check out one of the other shows on the YouTube channel, this is the show where I talk about my experience in being a nerd of color that was also fiscally disenfranchised. Okay, because when I say poor black child, people start quoting The Jerk, and it becomes a joke and people don't say stuff seriously. So if you guys want to know a little bit more about my personal story overall, just check out the playlist. And so we're going to go with that. But this weekend I sat down with a lot of people and I told them about what we do here with the creativity clubs and starting the clubs in the disenfranchised areas. And I was shocked, because primarily this is a really big thing. When you do this for a living and when you live in the 21st century, you spend a lot of time on the internet, and that can be a very discouraging thing. I mean, painfully discouraging. So many people on the internet are like, you shut up, we don't want your store, take your brick. And I spend so many hours every night after I'm done doing the video editing and the uploading, fighting with people about how things are different for all the people with intersectionality, not just with geek culture, but with culture in general. Again, I grew up a poor black child that didn't have any access to nerd culture except what came on broadcast TV and how that affected my culture. And this year at the Comic-Con, it seemed a lot of people really wanted to know not just my story, but your guys' stories, everybody's stories. People want to hear about the intersectionality and the difficulty of being LGBT in the nerd community, you know? I've been working really closely with a lot of people in the LGBT community because the Wizards Tower is down here in Long Beach, California, and we have a huge LGBT presence in the city, and they hold a lot of power politically, but there's still that social stuff, and we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go. We do. And when I was at Comic-Con this weekend, I met some amazing folks, some amazing trans cosplayers that were there to talk about their experience as trans individuals. Hopefully, we'll have them as guests on the show in the upcoming months. But today's episode, let's face it, Con, just ended. I'm right now fighting a major case of the con crowd. For those of you that don't go to conventions, that is the con crud is essentially the bout with influenza that people get after going to a convention. What? Hey, thanks, man. Thanks, Joe. Hang on. Got some people from Roaming Dragon Games representing in NP City. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing up. And yeah, in this convention, so many people, from comic industry people to animators to writers for very, very, very known publications, really want to be a part of what we're doing. And it was elating. We got some really good donations that came in for the community centers, and quite a few other things. And with that, I have to give a super big shout out to IDW Games. Oh my God, IDW, or IDW Comics, because there was a Zombicide con exclusive. There we are. Oh, please tell me this is not on eBay. Oh God, it's on eBay. This is irritating. Cause that's not cool. But hey, people do their thing. IDW has the license to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that tiny, I mean, it's an independent comic. It's got a toy or two. I think it was a cartoon at some point, and I think it's it's teenagers, some sort of reptiles or something. But anyway, we've gone off on Game Gallery about the co-op board game, and for those of you guys that are new that don't follow board gaming, two types of games that you play with other people, either competitive or cooperative. And there is a game called Zombicide, of course, which is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite board games, primarily because, well, how can I put this? This game, and here's a shot from Miniature Market of the new expansion. It is a very original tale of the zombie apocalypse, but this is a game where everyone that plays is on the same team. And I'm a big fan of hate the game, not the player. Not that I got game, but I play blackjack instead of poker when I'm at a casino because I like the idea of everyone against the house. And this year, Con M, I believe the name of their company is, it's CMON. I'm not quite sure. I believe it's Common Games. They released a expansion pack for Zombicide of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Go to Zombicide. They partnered up with IDW Games, and they have two sets that are convention exclusives. So if you guys have a comic book or gaming convention where IDW Games or IDW Comics are going to be there, head down there and check them out. But these guys, once they saw what we were doing and why we did the whole thing, I got to give a massive shout out to the guys that were manning the booth, especially on Sunday. And they have donated a healthy supply of the expansion sets, a healthy supply. So what we ended up having to do, I'm glad you want. I'm glad that you want, because if you guys know, that's right, I got you, Horst, I got you. If you guys are familiar with the game Zombicide, one thing I can say is that their miniatures are top notch. Their miniatures are great looking. They're very high quality, very good miniatures. They feel solid. They're made out of really good plastic. It's just all the way across the board, they are great. They're even fun to paint as far as a board game goes. So that's a huge thing. Here we are. We have some of the Black Plague edition, which is the fantasy ones. And they released a set for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So what we ended up doing was we took an old look at our GoFundMe, because one of the things that we had to do with our GoFundMe, and seriously thanks out there to Colleen Tully, Nicholas Horst, Shannon Boomlay, and a lot of other people that hit the GoFundMe. What, y'all think I forgot about? Y'all think I forgot about you? Primarily because we opened up the GoFundMe a few years ago to build this channel, and a lot of people came through. And today, we got one last guy pushing us over the top, by the name of John. So thank you very much, John, if you're out there watching. If you're wondering why I'm not saying your last name, we don't do that unless we have like written permission to say people's last names, like we've gotten from our patrons and our other guys out there. So thank you, John. Seriously, we ended up sending this long gushy letter, and I meant every single word, because this dude is awesome. But we ended up stretching our goal to 3,000. Because the studio is now up and running, and now we have to now we really have to start banking away the stuff to open up the clubs, and that requires buying books, pencils, paper, dice sets, and all that jazz. We do take donations, but just in case people don't have the spare stuff, or we don't have a way to get to them for the old RPG stuff that they just won't let go because they've had it for 20 years. So we're expanding that so that we can actually get the plane tickets and the train tickets to go to places like Oakland and back to, and upkeep our stuff that we've done in Nevada and Austin, and the relationships with those stores in person, and not just via correspondence, because, we're really trying to open the door to all these places. But when you're dealing with the disenfranchised, speaking from the perspective of a poor black kid from the 1980s, anyone that tries to help had better make sure that they have the facilities to stay around. I remember when I was young, yeah, that's right, I use that as a segue to get back into my story. When I was young, there were a lot of people and a lot of programs that came around the public. It was like, I suppose you could say it was my first introduction to white savior syndrome. Because the only white people that I'd seen in South Central Los Angeles in the 1980s were either policemen or my teachers. That was it. So I thought white people existed in the TV box and at the school and in those squad cars, and they were the people that we always asked to give us baseball cards when they ran by. How things have changed. Anyway, but when people came around, and tried to help us. Like, there would be like a dance program at a school, or anything that would inspire any of those movies from the 90s, like Dangerous Minds and Freedom Riders. But one of the big things that makes it difficult to do the work of bringing the stuff to the disenfranchised is that what a lot of people don't understand about being disenfranchised, it means that you're forgotten. You're not permanent. Nothing good in your life is permanent. And nothing is permanent, but it's less permanent. And the suck does seem to be permanent. And I say seem because every situation that sucks ends. But a lot of things are measured by how long a time does a person get to live in between that suck. And for the disenfranchised of the inner cities and of the rural areas like trailer parks, and for those of you guys in Alabama and Mississippi and Florida, there might be a person that wants to help, but they come in, they help for like half a semester, and then they're gone. They're out. They're gone from your life forever. So it's hard to get close to things, hard to get close to people. I was fortunate to have 3 years of amazing teachers in middle school. Teachers who had such an impact on me that I still remember their names. And I mean first and last names, and like where they lived and all that stuff. I just don't pop up because, that might seem like I was stalking. And sure enough, these guys were just amazing, and they were in my life for the duration of my junior high school years. And then they left. And it hurt. I actually thought about just failing the 9th grade so I can repeat it and not leave these teachers. I'd actually done that with algebra. I had a great teacher, we'll call her Marilyn, and I loved her class so much that I intentionally failed it so I wouldn't have to leave. Because part of being disenfranchised, especially if you're from the ghetto or the ruralness, is a huge sense of not belonging, a sense of loneliness. And when someone comes along and touches your life, especially as a kid, you want them to stay. But if they have to leave, it's almost like you're forgotten. It's like the goodness that they brought to your life disappears. And watching it from the outside as an adult, it's bleeding, heartbreaking. Okay, it's tough. And these teachers that I'm talking about, at least 3 of them understood that so deeply that I ended up getting their home phone numbers, and they ended up sort of mentoring me through high school and for my first few years of college, because they saw how close I'd gotten to them and how much they made a difference, which is one of the reasons that we as Deckers are here and the stuff that we want to do. But unfortunately, that takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot to open up these places and actually bond with these kids, to let them know that, yeah, you saw a police guy shoot one of your classmates last week. But not only doesn't life consist of just that, but here's a map of how to get out of here, how to get out of this situation. And I will walk with you for as long as I can. But I want to walk with you longer than 3 months, because what's a summer vacation? Summer vacation is cool, but I think when it comes to helping people, that better than nothing is not good enough. It really isn't. It wasn't good enough for me. If these teachers and my good friends from the suburbs over the past 20 years, I'm not saying like all of them, but I mean a good amount of them did better than nothing. But there are some serious ones, and y'all know who you are, because I'm always calling you and trying to get a hold of you no matter how busy you are. They went above and beyond better than nothing. And I wouldn't be as wise as I am without those people. And these kids need that. These kids need that. Again, it's I had to go over some paperwork this morning, and I was reminded a little bit more about that. And of course, this weekend, talking about this stuff at Comic-Con, so many good people really want to help. They want to know. They want to know the conversations. So, with that, as I said on the thing, on the announcements, we're gonna make a few changes around here. Gotta make some changes. And one of the changes is as much as I love doing this show at 2:30 or somewhere between 2 and 3, I want to have more guests on. To have the conversations about being disenfranchised from my point of view and their points of view, be it, their race, their religion, their creeds, definitely their sexual orientation and gender identities. But people got day jobs, y'all. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pushing back the time of this show. We're still going to go on Tuesdays, but we're going to start going on Tuesdays around 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, so that the guests that I want to introduce all you viewers to have time to get home from work and get something to eat before talking to us, because my story is not unique, and a lot of you guys that are here already know that, because we share this. If we don't share the exact same story, we sure as sugar. Again, we're PG-13, so we sure as sugar have chewed some of the same dirt. We've been looked at like we were sculptures made out of cheese when we go into game stores or Target or neighborhoods that we didn't grow up in. If we were fortunate to get out and move to better places, we went through those knocks of not belonging. And those stories deserve to be heard, and those stories need to be heard and cataloged here on the YouTubes, so that the kids that we over here at Back in the Deck that we work with can see their stories and see that people that look just like them and don't look just like them go through the same stuff. Because it's interesting being a disenfranchised person. Okay, again, I'm cishet male, but I'm also black and poor. And the problems that come along with having those two weights on my shoulder come into, they give one major thing without legitimacy. And I'm talking about the legitimacy of the world at large taking responsibility for it. And that is when we see other people that are nerd girls, that get tested by, the buck-tooth gatekeepers who still smell vaguely of cheese and gym socks. Which, how can you have stinky feet if you don't play sports? I don't get it. But, when those guys attack the nerd girls, saying, "Oh, you're not a real nerd. Yeah, look at us gatekeeping." When people talk about that, when the disenfranchised people talk about the slings and arrows they suffer for liking what they like, be it their race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disabilities, budget, there's always a sense of people, always a huge amount of people saying, "Well, it's not like that. They didn't act that way because you're a girl. They didn't act that way because you're on crutches. They didn't act that way because you're black." And they practice Olympic levels of mental gymnastics to essentially gaslight people, i.e., trying to convince them that what they see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and experience with their life is fiction. To know that there are other people out there that go through the same stuff that you do really helps with the "I'm not crazy," I'm going to have more friends on this show. And of course, if you check out the Twitch channel and follow that, don't cost nothing, but if you got an Amazon thing, subscribe to that. But if you follow the Twitch things, I'm talking with my co-hosts on all the shows that we do about how when I meet a black friend that accepts me for just who I am and what I like, such a weight goes off the shoulder, and I'm always amused, and I get all enthusiastic. And even lately, I've been code switching a lot more, which is a little weird, but having someone that gets where I come from allows me to be more comfortable in my skin. And that is a universal thing. Everybody needs friends and identifiers because we are a social species. And this weekend at San Diego Comic-Con, of course there were cosplayers, of course there were creators, but a lot of the people behind the scenes of the stuff that we like are really starting to understand that. And we had a great talk this week, a lot of great talks, and this is the part I'm going to move into the next segment on, with why representation matters. Now, there are hot takes all over YouTube about this, all right? Representation, blah, blah, blah. And if people don't want to actually have the talk about why representation matters, and they're like, well, it don't matter, blah, 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 and they want to troll things like Captain Marvel, or in the next few years, we're going to have Natalie Portman as the Jane Foster Thor. So if you didn't like it, tough. You're spending $14 on that movie when it comes out, because Marvel is a drug, and those movies are our dealers. But I look at those people and I'm like, okay, if you say it don't matter, here's a 10-year-old girl. You tell her your point. Don't tell me. Tell the kid. And one of the big reasons that I try and stand up for the disenfranchised is because, one, I am one, but representation at the end of the day matters for one primary reason, and that is representation is the first important step to normalization. Okay, I'm an old man. Okay, I'm an old man. I'm over 40. I don't even know what the kids are calling old these days. But when I was growing up in the 80s, there was a lot of regular TV shows. That was like the birth or the rebirth, the second coming of the situation comedy, with things like Give Me a Break, Silver Spoons, Different Strokes. I think I said Family Ties, and of course, I totally forgot the biggest one. I'm sorry. It was the one with Tootie, Natalie, Joe, Blair, Mrs. Garrett. I watched all of it. I just can't remember the name. But back then, the situations that were put on the sitcoms were generally the same thing. But now, the 90s came around, and that was the introduction or the proliferation of the gay best friend. Y'all remember Will and Grace, and all the other stuff that's like, now Full House came around in the 90s, okay? Because when I say sitcom, everyone's like, yeah, Full House, because they have an orange bridge. And you can see that bridge, when you're in San Francisco, you can see that bridge practically from everywhere you look. Anyway, I know, boo, 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 I'm terrible. But with the proliferation of the gay friend character in all those shows in the 90s, be it Friends and Will and Grace, and I didn't watch a lot of TV in the 90s, but and the real culmination of it in the early 2000s with Neil Patrick Harris coming out and everyone going, oh my God, this guy is one of the coolest dudes ever, and he's fun, and so many people, and Ellen, and so many people in the LGBT community coming out, that at least in the most big cities on the precious coasts of whatever city or whatever country you're from, being bisexual or homosexual is not as unusual today as it was when I was 12, let alone in the 70s, when I was a baby. And one of the reasons that was that so much exposure in popular culture on television that was in people's homes every night, and movies that were in every single city and all these different duplexes, except for places in Virginia, because, they didn't play Blade Runner. They had 3 men and a baby. But the more exposure that you get to these things, especially in your art and media, the more open the world becomes to it being normalized. Because I remember when it was like, when I was in high school, a lot of people thought I was queer. They thought I was LGBT. And the thing was, where I grew up, again, check out the previous shows, there was a lot of toxic masculinity. And I'm very soft-spoken. I have a high voice. I love mathematics. I played with Barbie dolls. And no, I didn't really like My Little Pony. Okay? Sorry, the My Little Pony never really resonated with me. However, She-Ra, Rainbow Bright, Strawberry Shortcake, that stuff resonated the heck with me. Hell, one of my favorite animes from the 90s was Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is very much a girl anime, very much written for girls, And so I've always liked feminine things, and I had 4 brothers that didn't want anything to do with me, but all my girl cousins were always there. So we played with their dolls and their toys. And, we played games I would invent, but it's still with their stuff. So, I was really soft. And back then it was like, are you queer? No, we got to have a talk because, you can't be a black man and gay all at the same time. And now one of the new and funniest correspondents on The Daily Show is a Z-Lineal of color who happens to be gay as the day is long. And no one cares. No one cares. It's, can you do the job? Are you a decent person? Do you treat people with respect? And we've come a long way with that in the major cities because of the representation in media of many of the facets, not all, but many of the facets of LGBT in pop culture. And that's why representation matters, because one of the reasons that I know from my experience, one of the reasons black people have such a bad rap was that when them moving pictures started being a thing, black people were represented so poorly. I mean, from Birth of a Nation to minstrel shows to mammy things, to the old Aunt Jemima, the old auntie stereotypes, to the gangsters and the thugs being the only roles that we can get. Well, when people in what we call the flyover states have exposure to black people and black culture through them TV sets, that's what they think people are. In the same way that I thought every single white father was a caring, compassionate dude that you could talk to every 30 minutes about what was going on, because I just had the ones on TV and the ones at my school. Shout out Mr. Goldstein if you're still watching. So yeah, this was seriously a really big conversation that I ended up having like 40 or 50 times with comic writers and TV executives and independent film executives about, I've had a couple of people in one of our next shows over the next few weeks, I might even make it a special, is with someone that I met over the weekend that does a lot of outreach to the disenfranchised like us, so yeah, we're not alone, who is having a problem reaching out to the African American or black community, and he feels awkward about just going on to black Twitter and saying, hey, and I'm like, dude, first step, ask questions, listen, and don't immediately argue and discount what the people there have to say. Yeah, exactly. All right. So yeah, NP City actually just said something real cool. That's right. I'm watching all of this because part of being a wizard is the wizard's awareness. But yeah, he was talking about how Black Panther was to the black community because little kids saw people who look like them fight along their favorite heroes. Exactly. And I mean, for that purpose, one of my favorite comic books, or one of my favorite comic book characters is Moon Girl, because Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is about an 8-year-old super genius black girl with afro poofs that creates amazing, like, super high-tech gadgets, and she rides in the combat on the back of a T-Rex. Now, if I'd known about that when my daughter was a kid, think about how inspired she might have been to do science and adventure, or at least dinosaurs. I mean, but and I can help people communicate with the Black community, but I'm not really a spokesperson for LGBT. I know what my lane is. So we're going to be having more people to have the conversation about their experiences as, LGBTQ geeks, and be it cosplayers or people that are in the video games. Now, we're not going to be covering video games. I'm not going to be doing video game reviews, but just the video game environment is a real thing, and that is one of the places that can be the most toxic. And if Back in the Deck is gonna be a safe haven for people that just want to like the stuff that they like, I just want to love what I love, then I can't exactly say, well, that entire genre of geekdom ain't welcome. And that doesn't make me any better than anywhere else. So yeah, I mean, seriously. So just remember, and today's big thing, if you take away nothing from today's show, just take away, repeat after me if you want to. I can hear all of you in your home. No, I can't hear all of you. But just remember that representation is the first step of normalization. If something isn't represented, it'll never be looked at as ordinary. It'll never be looked at as a default. And if it's not default, it's othered. And that's, we haven't done a whole lot to not be othered. Or we've done a lot, but we can do a lot more, especially with the tools that we have of the 21st century. So with that, I got to get back to sending all these emails and keeping up the correspondence with these guests and all this stuff so we can get more work done. So, man, let me check the email, see if there's anything new. See if there's anything new. Oh, guys, that's sad. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to play one of the videos I took. Excuse me, at the comic book convention, because just for half a moment, we ran into some really good cosplayers. If you guys are still out there, we got some really good cosplayers. I apologize for the video quality. I spent a lot of time walking real fast and real hard, but we did run into the Hall family out there with amazing wings. I mean, just look at that right there. That was just, so many feathers. Oh my God. So many feathers. They were great. The feathers were great. They were amazing. The feathers were out there. They were amazing feathers. Yeah, kind of funny on that. We actually got a really funny kind of Billy Batson type dude over there. Kind of what would happen if Shazam became a highway patrolman. So, but I want to thank you guys for showing up. I'm glad you showed up today, Joseph. And again, major thanks to everybody that came out and are talking to us over in NP City. You guys are stepping up, and this is pretty awesome. Again, I want to thank people for showing up to the show and, giving a shot, especially with all of the conversations that we have been having over the course. There we go. All the conversations that we have been having over the course of the past few months. But much like the Oscars, I guess I'm being played out. But I do want to thank you guys. Now again, anytime that you guys want to go do a thing or talk to me about certain subjects, or you have comments or questions about your experiences and you want to share them with us, but you don't want to be on film, we totally get that. So all we're asking you to do is pull up your email, pull up your keyboard, put your little thing, and open up your email thing and type in backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. Follow us on all the social media like the Twitter and the Instagrams And I think we have a Snapchat, but I never add anything to it. I don't know, I gotta check. But that is at symbol back in the deck, BACKINTHEDECK, because yeah, we are that kind of creative. If you're part of the wretched hive of scum and villainy that is the Facebook, what I can say is join us on our group, The Deckers on the Book, where you can see what games the other fans of Back in the Deck are playing, including myself and a lot of the co-hosts, what we're building, the miniatures we're working on, the stuff that we've been filming, all the stuff that we can let you know that isn't under an NDA. And if you're like me and you're stuck in traffic all the time, and you can't watch this, because I don't want you watching any of these podcasts, you should be watching the road, unless you're in the passenger seat, who cares. But if you like listening to our nasal voices and all of our wacky non sequiturs, then head on over to soundcloud.com/BID_P, or is it BID dash? Nope, BID_P, and that is where you can listen to our audio podcast for free forever. And if you don't got that kind of time, or you're like me and you like listening to podcasts in the shower, you can download them for free and keep them forever. Hey, even let me know that you're going to do that. So if I need to redo the archive, I can be like, do you have the MP3 for it? No, I'm just kidding. And of course, if you guys like what we do and you want to support us in a seriously big and consistent manner, which I appreciate, then head on over, of course, to Back in the Deck or patreon.com/BID_P and become one of our patrons. Join us up over there where you have access to all of our shows. There was a time where we were live casting 4 nights a week, and we're getting back to that. Actually 4 days, because it was in the morning and it was in the evening. But with that, I'm going to say thank you guys again for showing up and, just being part of the Decker community. Deckers are freaking awesome. And again, here is our information with every way to get a hold of us except our phone number, because again, I have to do emails and all that stuff. But with that, I'm going to say, if anybody tells you that you can't have the hobby you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, your disability, or your budget, you tell them that we said to take any of those cards they're pulling and put it back in the deck. Special thanks to Shannon Lay, Nomi Jade, Paul Mansfield, Chris Chalmers, and of course our newest GoFundMe donator, John C. And with that, I'm going to say thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week on Dark Side of the Room.